Now joining us, John Kim from Rethink Reviews for an awesome Christmas special here. He's going to talk to us about a Charlie Brown Christmas and the origins of Christmas itself. John, we're having some issues downloading your review here. What was Charlie Brown Christmas about?
A Charlie Brown Christmas, I mean, it first came out in 1965, and it's basically about Charlie Brown being depressed at Christmas. And he feels like he's lost connection with what the holiday is. He's like, I like presents and that's nice. And I kind of, I like the Christmas tree, but I feel depressed. I don't know what this holiday is about anymore. And then it also goes on where he's feeling like, he feels disenfranchised from all the presents. And he feels like that really takes away, it really takes away from the holiday. And then even Snoopy is decorating his house, to enter a competition for $100 to see who can have the most decorated house.
Okay, now wait a minute. I was told by certain mayors in Tennessee that Obama was a socialist for trying to take away a Charlie Brown Christmas, but it turns out a Charlie Brown Christmas is socialist.
It isn't a lot. I mean, it's really it says it over and over again where he's like, the commercialism, like I really don't like the commercialism of Christmas. And there's a great moment in it where he's talking to Lucy. And, Lucy is kind of known as being spoiled, and she's like, I always get a bunch of toys and clothes and stuff like that, but I never get what I really want. And Charlie Brown's like, what is it you really want? And she says, real estate.
Now that's American, okay? Well, this Charlie Brown character, he sounds like one of those communist Marxist guys that Glenn Beck's always talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also a great part where he's helping Sally, his little sister, write her Christmas list to Santa. And she's just like rattling out. She's like, please take, like, I've been extra good, so like give me all these presents, as many of them as you can. And if it's easier, just give cash. 10s and 20s is fine.
Now, when was the Charlie Brown Christmas made originally?
It originally aired in 1965, and it was thought that apparently there was a lot of resistance to it from the channels, and at first thinking that like it was too heavy and that like it kind of ends, or towards the end, Charlie Brown is really he's really upset, and he just kind of yells out, "Does anyone know like what Christmas is?" And Linus, who kind of famously in the comic strip has read the Bible, he's like, "Yeah, I know what Christmas is." And he gets up on stage and he recites the verses from the Gospel of Luke, and just talks about Jesus being born. And that's to some degree is the note that the story ends on. But it's a very, very loud call to reject consumerism and commercialism.
Okay, and it's what's funny is if things stay around long enough, conservatives just by their nature, because they're traditionalists, will just pick it up and be like, we're all materialists and capitalists and all that stuff, but I don't know, it's been around since 1965. Sure, I'm in. So
yeah, and it's funny because they actually there was I think in 2002 there was a it's not really a sequel, but it's something called Charlie Brown's Christmas Tales, which is a newer version, and all of that anti-consumer stuff and all of like Charlie Brown's holiday depression is all gone, and he's like making a Christmas list, and like Linus is making a Christmas list, and yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to believe that. I mean you couldn't imagine now any channel putting out some kind of Christmas special, especially one for kids, that said, yeah, presents really obscure what Christmas is about, and we really need to focus here and not worry about presents and buying things, when that's obviously all you're going to see in the commercials.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, how can they sell stuff in the commercials if, Charlie Brown's getting everybody down, He's being a bummer about this. All right, so now let's move from the movie to the origins of Christmas. I know you did some research on this, and I think it's fantastic stuff. Let's start with the consumerism angle, John, because we were just connecting it to the movie here. How much do we spend around Christmas time on different items that we buy for Christmas?
Right. Every year, the U.S. Census Bureau puts out like a fact sheet of spending and other kind of trends during Christmas. In terms of retail sales and department stores, in 2008 it was $28.2 billion. And that's a 40% jump from November, which is $20.2 billion. Although a lot of that shopping in November is going to be holiday shopping anyway. It's estimated actually that a quarter of this is from the Voice of America, that a quarter of all personal spending happens during the Christmas holiday shopping season, which is kind of mind-boggling. 2008 it was $24 billion. In online shopping. And in terms of the Christmas tree market, 410 million is the number of the amount in sales by U.S. Christmas tree farmers. 109 million of that is from Oregon, which is the state that leads the nation. And a funny one, $470 million. That's the value of U.S. imports of Christmas tree ornaments from China.
Well, everybody's getting rich off Christmas. Even the Chinese love it. Okay, so by the way, those are stunning numbers. Think about it, just on trees, $410 million. That's amazing. So, John, where did those trees come from anyway? I don't remember any pine trees in the Bible, and I thought this was about the birth of Jesus. Where are the pine trees from?
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this research, it's kind of stunning how almost everything that we associate with Christmas is actually pagan in origin. The Christmas tree was that was basically in pre-Christian times, in the Roman Empire, that people would bring like evergreen plants indoors, and it used to be the decorations that went on the trees were things like fruit and nuts and things like that, and it was sort of to kind of commemorate that, that the growing season is going to be starting again. And one of the funny things that I found was that holly, Christmas holly, was originally seen as protection against pagans and witches. And the thorns and red berries were supposed to be Jesus' crown of thorns, and it was supposed to be the crown of thorns, and the berries were his blood.
That's very heartwarming.
Yeah, I also found something funny that in 1584, there, I guess, an Estonian author was writing about sort of a Christmas tree type celebration where they would bring a spruce tree to the market square where the young men, quote, went with a flock of maidens and women, first sang and danced there, and then set the tree aflame.
Okay, wait.
Which actually sounds kind of cool, actually. Imagine how fun Christmas Eve everyone set their trees on fire.
Wait a minute!
That sounds pretty fun. What are you talking about, okay? All right, maidens, and we're burning things down. Everybody's having a good time. That's the kind of Christmas I can get behind. So now, look, the pine tree, and I've read about this too. It's mainly Germanic, and it's because it's, like you said, evergreen, and it's a lot of the Christmas traditions have to do with rebirth. Now, so let's talk about that. Why? What is it about rebirth around this time of year that we were originally celebrating? Right.
Well, obviously it was the winter solstice, which was kind of celebrated around the world as a pagan holiday, and there's actually a link. There's a holiday called Dies. It's a Roman solar holiday called Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, which means the birthday of the unconquered sun. And basically the idea that like as the days are getting shorter, it's like the sun is dying, and then on the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year, that's when the days start getting longer. So it's like the sun is coming back. And there's kind of a belief that, because the Roman Empire was spanning all of these countries, by creating this one kind of sun, like a sun holiday, it kind of could relate to the Syrians and the Persians and like everywhere they were. And since obviously they probably realized that there was going to be some sort of riot if they decide to take away this really, really popular holiday. And one reason why the winter solstice was so popular was because basically the harvest season was over. And so people weren't working that hard. So they had the time to put into sort of big elaborate festivals. And that's a lot of it. But then the Christians kind of co-opted that. And there was a quote from an early Christian writer saying, quote, "Oh, how wonderfully acted Providence that on that day on which that sun on which that sun was born, Christ should be born." And someone else said, "They call it the birthday of the unconquered. Who indeed is so unconquered as our Lord?" So they kind of just they just mushed them together. I mean, like all of our traditions, especially when you hear Bill O'Reilly, like we have to keep Christmas the way it is. It's changing constantly. So
yeah, no, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. John, where is that quote from? Around what time period? And do you know or no?
That one, I'm not actually sure of the time period in that one. Like a lot of the traditions that we have, people don't actually know when they started, but there's kind of like a first recorded usage of certain things, or first time this appeared in a publication or things like that. But no one knows exactly when they started.
You know what's interesting, John? All of Christmas sounds like it's been crowdsourced. Because they try a pine tree. People are like, yeah, that's cool. We like that. Let's keep that, right? And then they try a Jolly Santa. They're like, okay, rock and roll. This thing's definitely working. And depending on what works for a lot of times for marketing reasons, they keep it. And if it doesn't work, they don't keep it. I mean, it's the original crowdsourcing. So,
yeah, I mean, it was. I found that Santa Claus, or I mean, that's the whole story in itself. But originally, he didn't wear the red uniform with like the white fur trim and everything. That he dressed in bishop's clothes, and that he's based after an actual Saint Nicholas from the 4th century. Who was known for kindness to children and giving gifts, and one of the kind of famous stories about that was he gave 3 impoverished daughters of a pious Christian person, gave them dowries so that way they wouldn't have to become prostitutes.
Now, again, very heartwarming Christmas story. How come they don't tell the kids that? Remember when Santa saved the little girls from becoming prostitutes?
Yes, let's remember the true origins of Santa Claus: whores.
And the maidens. I'm seeing a theme here. All right, look, I don't want to bum out the kids, and that's why, of course, we switched from like a downer bishop. Oh, come on. And St. Nicholas originally lived in what is now southern Turkey, right? Again, yeah, that gets confusing. It's a bit of a downer. You slap a red suit on him, make him jolly. Everybody's having fun. Look, I'll tell you a quick story. We did this last year, and I looked into the history of it. So that little town in Turkey where St. Nicholas is from, the Russians sent them a statue to celebrate for the Russian Orthodox Church of a bishop, right? And the guy's like, morose as always. He's Russian. Well, he's not Russian at the time. I suppose he's Greek, but the Russians built him. And they put it in the town square, the Turks did. And they get a little bit of tourism because of, that's the town Santa Claus came from, etc. But it was bumming out the tourists. So they took it out from the town square, put it in the back of a museum, and they literally put this giant pole with a big fat Santa on top of it, and then tourists poured in. Okay, come on, man. That's why I love Christmas, because it's so secular. It's so democratic. It's what us, the people, have decided we're going to celebrate around this time of year.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, because for one, also, that story of Saint Nicholas, who actually the Dutch called him Sinterklaas, which just means Saint Nicholas, which then of course becomes Santa Claus. But apparently, there's like a nearly identical story of a figure like that from Greek and Byzantine folklore, who I think was called Basil of Caesarea. And I mean, it's kind of like from what I heard the Jesus story. Apparently, there are other versions of the Jesus story that sometimes predate the Christian version, and also that some Protestants changed the name to Christ's Child, which they pronounce as Christkindl, which then becomes bastardized and corrupted into Kris Kringle, to make it more secular and I guess more and to make it more more accessible to people. And that also there was Father Christmas, who was popular in England, who, like, if you see A Christmas Carol, like the Ghost of Christmas Present, who's like this giant guy who wears green robes, and he has a long beard, but it's not white, it's kind of brown colored. And he was really known more for like feasting and drunkenness.
Once again,
merrymaking and drunkenness, and but then you can kind of see how he kind of somewhat gets changed into Santa Claus, and apparently this original Saint Nicholas had a long white beard.
See, they made a movie about him, too. It's called Bad Santa, starring Billy Bob Thornton. So,
oh, I thought you were going to say the Santa Claus. The real Santa Claus is actually Tim Allen.
Right. All right, so look, I love all these traditions, but luckily we did not stick with the Basil of Caesarea and went with Santa Claus instead. Now, finally, I saw on Fox News the other day, and we covered this too. They're like, this isn't about the winter solstice. This is about Christianity, which is awesome because it's all about the winter solstice and nothing to do with Christianity. I found out, I went online and did a little research. When was Jesus Christ actually born, if he existed, according to the Bible? And most biblical scholars say around April 17th. So if you had any doubt at all that this is actually about the winter solstice and not about the birth of Jesus, that about settles it when you actually look at the Bible. So
yeah, I mean, it's all over. We were talking earlier about apparently also Santa Claus is very closely related to Odin, the Germanic, kind of Norse god, and that he also rode around on a flying horse who was called Sleipnir, Sleipnir. And actually, that originally what kids would do is they would leave their boots by the chimney filled with carrots and straw and sugar for Sleipnir, and that became the root of Christmas stockings.
And how many legs did that horse of Odin Santa have?
He had 8.
8 legs, huh? Interesting. It seems like
I'm not sure if it was that he could fly, or apparently it might have been that he could just jump really far with those 8 legs. But then, who knows? Maybe the 8 legs became the 8 reindeer. But then, of course, later on, we added the 9th reindeer, Rudolph, who isn't in the original Christmas stories.
Aha! You see there? Fox News was right after all, because I swear I saw Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer somewhere in the New Testament. All right, Jonathan Kim's with Rethink Reviews. You can check him out on Huffington Post, on his own website, and of course on YouTube under Rethink Reviews. And check out his Charlie Brown Christmas review as well. John, as always, great pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas. We'll be right back.